All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the People Images StarCraft League. Oh, I just realized I gotta update that thing on the side there. Ignore it, Wardy's not here. We got Maynard, Zombie, and Rifkin coming at you. And as I said, I quickly do some quick sponsor shoutouts for the sake of the VOD. Thank you, Warfield, for that sub. But yo, guys, check out the main sponsors of the event over on peopleimages.com. High quality stock photos, stock videos. Make your design projects pop, make them look professional. Go to peopleimages.com. On top of this, we do have that Matcherino page still ticking. Like I said, guys, hundreds of codes still available with the code PeopleImages on Matcherino to add $1 to the prize pool, and let's get this thing up to $7,000. With that being said, I'm gonna mute myself, and I guess I'll throw it to Zombie Grub to kick off the intros.
Oh, lucky girl.
Thanks.
Wait, there you go.
Yeah, super lucky. It's the game number 1 of a best of 7 in the top left. As the blue Protoss, he is a DnS.
And in the bottom right, the Ukrainian Zerg. This is On Fire's Bly.
He was a little intimidated, I guess, by a best of 7. I wanted to tell him, I mean, it's you. It's not like it's gonna take forever, but to be honest, Bly doesn't always cheese or all in. He actually does have a couple of pretty late game ZVPs under his belt.
Yeah, he has that stigma as the aggressive guy, but I gotta say, like, a bunch of the Bly games that I've seen recently that haven't been ZVZs, like the ZVZs have been very explodey and very Bly-ish, but the ZVPs and ZVTs have been, regular. He's actually not afraid of the late game. He's pretty damn good at it. I've seen it happen a couple times recently. DnS is a French Protoss that shot up through the echelons of, like, those incredible European Protosses, like your Manners, like your Showtimes. DnS was kind of, on the back seat compared to those guys, but lately, like towards the end of 2017, really started to show what he's made of, and a lot of people are starting to see him as a bit of a household name. So this series is going to be a cracker by the looks of things, on paper at least.
Yeah, there are actually a lot of things to talk about. I mean, lovely 2 European players and all that, but also we are on the NA Central server, as DnS is in Korea, Bly is in Europe. Bly made a comment about him not needing to be in NA Central because DnS is going to 1A anyways. It was funny, everyone laughed. But just like bringing up that DnS in Korea, more than just mentioning like maybe there's some lag involved or something like that, he apparently had a pretty good run at the GSL qualifier. Like, he didn't make it, unfortunately. We had our 3 Zergs make it through, I suppose, for foreigners. But I wanted to look it up, actually, as I was, like, I tried to be as fast as possible, but I couldn't. But I think his bracket was one of the hardest ones. Like, he beat a couple of really notable names, so much so that when I saw it, I was like, oh, shit, like, DnS is actually doing really well. Like, he is on the forefront of being the next European Protoss.
Yeah, to get a good bracket in GSL qualifiers of all things is pretty tough. So DnS, unfortunately, getting one of the worst ones. I agree with you. Like, I'm also in the same boat where I don't exactly remember what his bracket was like, but I remember seeing, the people who he was up against and people talking about it in No Regrets chat, because No Regret was streaming sort of over people's shoulders for GSL qualifiers. And they were like, damn, man, DnS got so-and-so. I'm like, oh, like, Jesus. No way he's winning that. But then he would, he'd move on through. He didn't get stopped at the beginning. Made it a little through. This Overlord coming in here and seeing the Stargate play here. Looks like DnS opened actually Phoenix first before getting into the Oracle. But is going to get that Overlord. But the Overlord sort of paid for itself. It got to see what he's up against, and now he can prepare accordingly. Bly's been doing nothing but making drones and getting those queens up with those hatcheries. So pretty regular Zerg play from him. Very macro-centric at the moment.
So I realized the easiest way was to go to League of Lag, and I don't know why I thought about it sooner. But yeah, as the openers still unfold here. So I think what everyone was like, oh shit about, was that he 2-1 TY. Balance aside and all that, Protoss versus Terran. It's still a foreigner Protoss versus one of the best Korean Terrans in the world. So I think that's what everyone was pretty excited about. Besides that, he lost to Bjol, but he took games almost off of everyone that he lost to, so still pretty impressive. And I guess Bjol being the most noteworthy, although he hasn't really been showing himself very often, so I actually don't know how noteworthy that really is.
Bjol's been a bit quiet in the last half of the year, I gotta say, but he really started 2017 with a bang, like when he jumped onto your Looking for Team. Bjol was sort of like a contender for best Zerg in the world. Like, he was that good. Of course, it ended up being Rogue in the end, but yeah.
Well, anyways, going more towards the ZVP, because of course that's what we're seeing here today. A best of 7. It's an okay record. I think more importantly, he also beat Scarlet kind of recently. We cast that as well. Well, I guess you guys cast that to be more appropriate. I was just watching, so that's what I got here. Yeah, it was a cool series. Lots of late game as we do seem to be getting to that point, at least in the mid game. You know, Bly's going to 4th base, DnS is getting his 3rd base without much attention for it, and it's going to go into that Ling Bane Ling Hydra.
Yeah, everything looks pretty regular for Bly. Like, yes, he has a lot of Lings. Yes, he's making 18 more, but he does have a bunch of Archons to deal with, and the threat of gateway units. But as it stands, just the Archons are going to be the first thing he needs to worry about. Now, generally, you don't want Lings against this, but when you have this many, it's kind of okay. As long as he controls them well. Obviously, DnS doing a pretty good job here with his Prism Micro. These Lings aren't going to find too much damage. They do get 1 adept, but will be cleaned up very shortly. Sees that 3rd Nexus. He saw that a little bit ago. Charge transition here for DnS. And yeah, this is just transitioning into your regular mid-game. Lots of drone supply. He's been really powering on those drones, but he has to a little bit because he's sort of not in an incredible work account at the moment, having to use a lot of lava on Lings. He's making actually 16 more Lings. This is starting to get a crazy amount of Ling count here. Yeah.
We'll see what his next larva is used for. I mean, this is enough Lings to definitely hurt that 3rd base. He knows the War Prism full of those Archons is over. On the other side of the map, these Zealots had no shield batteries to help them out. 18 probes instantly go down.
And that Archon immediately died as well from that recall. That recall didn't bring everything home.
That's it,
and that's
actually.
Just too much, yeah.
GG.
I mean, to summarize what happened in that game for everyone scratching their head at home, it's just... It was kind of a sloppy recall from DnS, or rather the recall kind of hurt him a little bit. The decision to do it made him lose basically one of his best anti-Ling countermeasures, which was one of his Archons. I guess maybe the other one died across the map or didn't quite meet the recall radius, so it didn't come home as well. But even if they both did, I feel like there was just so much Lings. I think they may have had +1 at that point as well. They just shred through everything. Right before.
He done so much damage to those Archons, just like catching them jumping out of the War Prism and stuff. And even if they both were recalled home, they both might have just popped off immediately. I mean, they had less than half shields before the recall even went down. Either way, that was brief, quick, but well executed. Because I think a lot of Zerg players in that situation, they focus on the War Prism. They're like, I gotta kill these things coming out of this. Like, I have to stay at home and defend. Whereas Bly's mentality was like, nah, I'll just get across the map and like kill him for having all of his units on my side of the field.
Yeah, well, I think that actually does sum it up, really. DnS was probably just like, oh, I'll corral these Zerglings, and they'll never be able to touch me because I got a War Prism, and then they make their way across the map. Added to the fact that I think that you can technically call that greedy. That was just Zealot Warpins that weren't even like in a mineral line, you know, and they should have definitely had pylons to the sides and definitely a shield battery, if not one, then definitely like
or even was or something like
that was bare bones defense at the 3rd base. So
you do feel like lately, you know, I mean, whenever I play Protoss, I feel pretty confident to get a handful of Zealots and be okay against like a lot of Lings, but that was a lot of Lings. A lot more than you expect at that point. It's like one of those attacks that DnS be sitting there going, it didn't really make sense for Bly to attack with that amount of Lings right there, but to Bly it did. Now he's 1 game up.
And into the map we go. See you guys on Neon Violet Square.
Welcome back. We are into game number 2. In the top left is the blue Zerg. He is Bly.
With a choice amount of... It's actually a paragraph that he typed there at the beginning of the game. Against his opponent, the French Protoss, this is DnS.
I guess a comment on DNS's age. Bly is older. I don't know. He's like... Actually, Bly is kind of old, I guess, for pro gamer standards.
Yeah, I mean, he's older, but... Old?
Oh no, I mean
it's hard for me to say any of these people are old. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Well, Bly is 28. I think that is kind of difficult to remember. I mean, he's been around in StarCraft for so long, so it's like 7 years basically. So he started off when he was 21, and maybe that's what people remember. And when he was 21, he looked honestly like he was 17 or 18. So that adds to the confusion. But no, he's definitely one of the older pro gamers.
I saw Bly recently at Home Story Cup and see him relatively regularly at the WCS stops, and he still looks like he's 17 to me. Yeah.
Well, he looks like a, I guess, I don't know how to say this without, just saying that he looks better. Like, I don't know.
Teenage heartthrob.
Yeah, he's a teen heartthrob. That's what Rifkin suggested. But I'm more like
Macaulay Culkin, like the opposite of Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah. He figured out the right hair products to use and the right hairstyle for him, and then he just blossomed. Anyways, I checked, and DnS is 21, so definitely not as young as I thought he would be. I actually had no idea. I mean, I don't even remember what this guy looks like 90% of the time. He's got a couple of photos flying around, and he's been to a couple of WCSs, but
dark hair.
Yeah, but I mean, he doesn't even have it on his Wikipedia. He doesn't even have a picture. So it's hard to remember sometimes what these ages are. But I don't know if you're going to call him a kid. I guess he's 7 years younger. I guess that's safe to call someone a kid, jokingly. But none of these guys are like Neebs or Rainers.
Yeah. Old enough to drink in silly countries like America.
Yeah.
So that's, as far as America's concerned and the rest of the world's concerned, that is an adult. But
America's weird.
Compared to Bly, though.
You're an adult when you're 18, but then you're granted another thing when you're 21 for some reason.
Yeah, you're an adult, but only kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't make any sense there. Well, so DnS chose Neon Violet Square being loser's pick, which, I mean, I think for obvious reasons, right? You do have that third base that is safe. They might not even take, actually, immediately. He might go for the outside third and then save that for a fourth or even a fifth if he thinks he can get away with it.
Yeah, it's a nice little map with a lot of different features. I think the safe third, lots of little choke points, that sort of thing. A little bit safer for racers like Protoss and Terrans who like to wall off going through. But those two links finding a probe kill is quite nice, as well as just pulling that single stalker of DnS out of position. You can see that DnS just has the 2 units here chasing these 4 lings around. Oh, don't get another probe kill. Goodness no. There we go.
Yeah.
He holds that one off, but yeah, we can see these transitioning the Stargate again, so pretty regular PvZ opener here for DnS as well. Nothing super out of the ordinary. Bly getting the back third instead of the more bold third with more minerals. That's pretty interesting to see.
Yeah, I would say of either of these races, it would be the Zerg that was more keen on getting the forward bases first. I mean, we have Snoot, who would save that kind of base for like 6th base, or never even get it in a game, right? So
Snoot hates that base. Snoot will never come. Snoot will never respond to that base's messages or invite him to a single party. Like, it's not. He hates that base. Every time he talks about this map, he's just like, "This base is useless. I will only like you mentioned, we'll take it for maybe a 6th or a 7th base if the game goes that long."
Yeah. So for Bly to grab it as a third is a little suspicious. I think I was gonna be aware that Bly does still have those tricks up his sleeve. So like fast mutas, for instance. Oh no. Oh no. Well, that's gonna die now.
Not enough. Yeah, that really sucks for DnS. Yes, he got 3 drone kills, but losing the Oracle is not worth. There's not enough dead space for that thing to live in the top right there if it's not motoring away. So, unfortunate for DnS. Good pick off for Bly, and he has that big bowl of lings coming in. There is a wall off here for DnS.
Yeah. I mean, he wants to take that base that he's leading to with the wall as a 4th eventually, but he did take the safer 3rd base, so these lings really aren't going to get very much done. A couple more drones died, I suppose. They were definitely taking off the mineral line for a second. Building 11 he's got an opportunity to power up here. I guess not much scouting has been done, but the assumption from seeing what was at the front wall, from seeing a Stargate opener, knowing you killed the Oracle too, it's pretty nice. So he's grabbing a 4th already.
I think that Bly might go for like a huge Hydralisk timing or something like that. Like, he hasn't got any Baneling Nest. He's getting +1 attack, and he's getting all these gases. Now, he could be heading into another tech route, but he did drop that Hydra Den, which makes me a little bit like, what are you up to here? Like, maybe Lurkers, maybe something interesting here for Bly.
Yeah.
Lack of Baneling Nest makes me believe, like, this is obviously not super regular not to have that Baneling Nest, so we'll see what he's up to in a second.
Yeah, in a way, it could be greedy. It could be leading up to an all-in. It could just be going into lurkers, is what I was also going to suggest. It's really, I think, dependent on how many drones he gets, because a 4th base isn't really a tell. That 4th base could never get a single drone in its life, and it's just totally a larva factory. But really, the drone count absolutely can. So it is a very fast lurker den with a lot more drones. So not like a Ling Hydra all-in that we might see without +1 from, I guess, Snoot, talking about him again. But rather fasten those lurkers, which have been tripping up a lot of Protosses. They're not getting that many immortals, especially that quickly. And, DnS does have a severe lack of scouting since that Oracle died. So this might also have been a reaction to that.
Yeah, very true. And this is sort of something that like, a couple of foreign Zergs are doing, Snoot as well, and as well as Scarlet, who we saw against DNS on this very channel. It's something that she likes to do as well. Just getting those lurkers out, really annoying the Protoss, who is generally going to go for things like Colossi and that sort of thing, which coming out of DNS. But even with Colossi, lurkers can be extremely annoying. They just burrow, unburrow underground siege tanks. You need to have the detection. The lurkers are already built in with a ton of range to be able to do a lot of splash damage. So it's all going to come down to positioning for Bly.
The Colossus becomes a support unit in my eyes. Well, in a lot of situations, really. Like, it is a unit that has to be supported. So, in a way, it's a support. So, especially against lurkers, though. Like, it does consistent damage, but it's kind of like throwing down a storm, if you get a couple of shots anyways, where it's like, oh, well, that's great, but that's really so the Immortals can take them down easier. And if I don't have any Immortals, then I'm still kind of screwed here, which I'm really getting worried about, because I don't know if he's going to go up to 2 or 4 Colossus, if he's ever going to see the lurker down and react to it. It was in the back. Oh, no, it was the Hydro Stem. Oh, it was the natural. Oh, he was so close to seeing it. Oh, no.
So close and yet so far. And we actually see a Spire as well from Bly. He's getting all the tech right now. Tough to afford both at once, but he does have those extra gases, and he does have quite the bank right now. We'll see what he decides to do with it. That Phoenix is eventually going to see what's up as it rolls on through. Bly has already begun the Hydra production, and he's just holding things down on the creep right now as DNS gets the Colossi count up, getting the Gateway count up because he needs that meat shield, and the Templar Archives is certainly going to help with that.
So he does get the Phoenix into the Lurker Den Scout, also the Spire Scout, so Bly just cancels it, which, damn it, Phoenix, why'd you die? He saw it canceled. Well, I mean, if you see that it's canceled, then starting it again is like the ultimate mind game, and the Phoenix did see it explode and blood everywhere, so that'll be tricky.
Good old Bly, huh? 4 lurkers on the way here for him. That is many lurker, yes. Quite the number. DNS though is chilling on 4 Nexi. I think when a Protoss hits 4 Nexi, even with that back base, it's still pretty good for the Protoss. I like where he's sitting here. That's a second, and was that a second robotics facility just finishing up for him? So he has double robo all the way, and Archon's starting to get morphed in. So he's going to have the ultimate army pretty shortly here. And Bly is going to let that Spire finish this time. And I'm wondering what his plan is here. Corruptors are pretty nice against against Colossi ever since the dawn of time, but there are other options. We see that Infestation Pit being dropped here. Possibly just gunning for the Broodlords if they come in, if the game goes that long.
Yeah, well, if the game goes that long, if DNS does weather this Lurker Storm, then he's going to need to get to Broodlords. In fact, with DNS now playing up double Immortal, his arm will get better and better against this specific composition. As it is right now, DNS is still low on that Immortal count. Still low on the Charge Light count. Really, like, his army is Archon and those 3 Colossus, but it's growing, at a very nice rate. And Bly's either got to do damage now or acknowledge that Broodlords will be a necessity for the future.
Yeah. Wow, that's not what I expected, but we do have it from Bly, and I mean, it could work out. There's not a ton of anti-air for DNS, or rather, he does have a ton of anti-air, but it's all in Archons, and it's very like, yes, if the mutas fly over the Archons, it'll be bad, but if they don't, then oftentimes you can get a lot of damage done. DNS hasn't got a ton of static defense back at home.
So the army of DNS, I thought maybe it was going to go for just... So when you see a Spire as a Protoss, sometimes you build a Stargate, sometimes you just build a bunch of Stalkers and Blink, and sometimes you're like, well, I have a big enough army, so I'm just going to go and force the mutas to come to me. So they just pass it over those Archons. I thought he was just going to go. Elusive Phoenix sees the mutas, however, I think it's his first sight on like them actually being mutas, not corruptors. And what is his decision? He's already in the middle of the map kind of awkwardly here. He's got cannons, but not really a lot of shield batteries.
The natural doesn't have any... Oh, okay, so he's going for it. He's going to get that 1 cannon and have a little bit of space here to be able to tap on those probes and get some of that production as well, but he can just bounce between these bases. There's no cannons at 2 of these Nexi, only at the 4th and in the main.
Oh, boy. There are shield batteries here, but they're not in range to defend the cannons, so not the best SimCity. But DNS, I like the idea of recalling a couple of Archons, but unfortunately they're just so slow, they're not going to keep up with the mutas, and so many probes are dying.
They are. There's a big attack from DNS on the other side of the map as well, with the Archons leading the charge. Hydra's doing a ton of damage. against those Zealots. A lot of the Archons are still alive, and the Colossi are still alive as well, so he's pressing the issue. Now, it's looking like he has enough to break through the defenses of Bly as well.
Well, Jones just returned to the slaughter. Initially, it wasn't so bad, but Bly, it's coming to that point where his rally is going to be his weakest point. You know, maybe if he could get 15 Hydras altogether collected with upgrades, then okay. But he's got 2 Hatchers going to be running into a bunch of Colossus. The Mutas had to come back. I
mean, with this hurt Archon and the second Archon being the only anti-air here, there's Mutas home trying to engage this, and they are on the way back. With Magic Box, I think he can actually take this out, especially now that the Hydras are helping as well.
Yeah. Such light damage from the Mutas, but enough to help out. Take out the Colossus. Still have some Hydras left over. Does go into a Greater Spire. There it is.
Does go. JK LOL.
Yeah, that was weird. It was a lot of minerals and gas, but Bly was already starting to bank a lot of minerals and gas, so he's fine.
Yeah, so I mean, as the ashes fall here from that damage from both players, it looks like Bly ahead at this point. You know, tons of workers above DNS, and with that tier 3 tech on the way, and still, you know, some more lurkers being morphed, and DNS not really having a whole lot of opportunity to be aggressive. He kind of just has to sit at home, and that's generally what the Zerg wants.
Pretty terrible position, really, for DNS. That attack with the Colossus really was all in. He didn't have enough probes to make another Stalker army, because in a different world, he loses 25 probes instead of almost 40, or plus, or whatever it was. And he has a decently sized Stalker ball that hits this great timing right before Broodlords are done, but instead he has to kind of stay at home. Now he has a decent army, but Broodlord's going to be out in like 20 seconds, 30 seconds here. And he's still got to make it across a pretty large map, so I don't think it's going to be hidden.
And yes, the Mutas mainly got taken out by DNS, but the time for Mutas has passed. It's all about the tier 3 that Bly is gunning for here, and he's dropping his static defenses. He's ready for a counterattack or any kind of counter to his current army here, but really Bly doesn't even need these Spore Crawler. He's got an army that just straight up beats DNS's right now, but we'll see how it goes down. There is a lot here from DNS. It has +3 attack, and he is going to go for it. He's on creep, and he's trying to push forward, but this will be DNS's last hurrah here on this game. He either wins or he loses right here, right now.
Well, he recognizes that. He's going to try his best, and leaving a handful of Stalkers back here to defend what few probes he has. I mean, I don't even know if that's really worth it. 4 extra Stalkers in the front line's probably a little bit better. Like 1 or 2 more Stalker warp-ins is basically what he has. He has the Warp Prism, but it can't warp in very much.
That Lurker splash damage already getting rid of all those charge lots, and yeah, the writing is game 2. Bly getting a 2-0 lead in this series, and really kind of smacking DNS around a little bit in these games so far.
Yeah.
I mean, this is such a good start for Bly. You're coming up against our recent Ting 4 season champion, like DNS. Even if you don't know much about him, you don't care about how he did in GSL, the reality is he just won a big tournament on this channel less than a month ago. So this is... He won it really one-sided too, but that was PvP over there. This is PvZ. It's a different monster. Either way, guys, we're actually going to take this time to take a quick break. We will be doing this about every 2 games or so. We'll also be swapping up who's casting, so do sit tight, folks. We'll get this out of the way and be back here soon. All right, folks, welcome back. It's game number 3 here for the People Images StarCraft League. I do want to nerd out a little bit about what happened last game, but before that, I'll get into these intros. So to the bottom right, of course, we have the red Zerg player. It's Team Experts Bly.
And in the top left, currently against the ropes, this is DnS.
So I really wanted to get into this were I casting that last game, but you guys, well, I don't know if you saw it, Maynard, but I know that both of you missed out on casting this really sick series with Wardy, Rogue versus Hero, where there was this situation where I swear to God, there's no way a Protoss player could have broken Lurkers. It was only like 3 Colossus, almost no gateway units, very little detection, no Immortals. Yet somehow he did it with Colossus. And from this point going forward for the rest of my watching these games, I actually have faith that with proper control, Colossus can beat Lurkers in the most dire of situations. Is that always going to be the case? No. Is every player going to be able to pull that off like friggin' Hero? No. But seeing that happen once made me think, okay, he's not going to be so screwed to the Lurkers. Ooh. A little bit of donation, Kevin. Thank you very much. But what was nice wasn't that like that dynamic wasn't what being the determining factor for that game. It was the mutas, and that is such a Bly specific thing. This guy, like, I don't know any other player who still insists on going 8 mutas the same way Bly does.
Yeah, he really hates that prism stuff, man, and that going for that small cluster of mutas is just like the no stops that thing right in its tracks. You got to get to that point. You got to trade well, of course. But yeah, I mean, you were talking about Colossi and PvZ and seeing hope for them. And then I remember from that very cast that one time there were like a ton of banelings just killed a bunch of Colossi as well.
Yeah, right? So that's the thing. You've got these Colossus countering lurkers but not banelings, and I sit there, I'm like, what a world to live in. It's the end of 2017.
That's it, man.
If you guys did miss that, by the way, I think it's one of the highlight clips on the channel. Rogue came in with like 60 banelings, killed an entire Protoss army, Colossus, Immortals, Storms, you name it, and walked out with 30 banelings still standing. Both races have a lot of gimmicks, we'll say, but I think a lot of it comes down to control for no matter what that situation is. That, for me, you know, through all the crying of balance and whatever state of the game StarCraft's in right now, I just love seeing that, like, good decision making and good control seems to still win out more often than not, but at the same time, balance is still a really big factor.
Oh, of course. These two lings, by the way, are going to get into the main of DnS, and there's 4 more behind it. Luckily, an Adept coming out just in time to stop those bad boys. Blind trying to dive on this Adept and pick it off, though. I'm not sure this will work out.
Yeah, if he hadn't wasted his time up here and just been waiting for that Adept to come out, he probably could have killed that as soon as it spawned. But quick note here, guys, because we got Juvia, our wonderful tier 3 sub, pointing out, it was 13 mutas last game. I say 8 for Bly because that is something he'll typically do in ZVZ and ZVP. Like, 8 is the minimum magic number. If he's got more money, yeah, obviously he's going to go for more. But whether we see that again, even in the series today, that's really up for question marks. This is one of the unique morphs in the game, by the way, for those who don't know. An Overlord will not heal to full, like when it turns into an Overseer or any other unit morphs. So that drop Overlord's going to be a little bit soft.
A little bit soft, but it's going to go into the natural here. I mean, the main base one's going to be a little soft, but the natural one's full hit points. Oh, no.
Second Stargate coming up.
This one's pretty strong against... Yeah, this is pretty strong against the guy that's trying to go for double gate Stargate. That is a depowered gateways, no warp gate DNS, already in a ton of trouble here.
Oh my God.
Cannot reinforce. He has to recall 3 Adepts, but it's not even going to be enough. There's so many lings here.
This is ridiculous. This is... Watching DNS die to this stuff is insane to me. Like...
No GG.
Wow. Yeah, no GG. But... Bly's not doing anything that I think is too insane. He's doing stuff that's a little bit aggressive. He's playing around the normal. Like, he's changing his strategy every game, so credit to Bly where it's due. But I'm just like, wow, this stuff works on a player as good as DNS. Like, that actually surprises me.
Yeah, I feel like DNS is having a... I mean, obviously, we're seeing it, but however, I don't even feel like it. It is literally happening right now. DNS is having a very rough series, but clearly it's starting to come out with his mentality a little bit. The poor guy is struggling in this one. I really hope he switches gears for the game 4, but yowza, this is rough. Like, I haven't seen word 1 from DNS in these games, whereas Bly has been, you know, chatty. He's been in the lobbies and such. He's been talking a little bit. In game, he's been talking a little bit, but DNS is just sort of quietly playing PvZ, and is clearly not happy about the game 3 there.
Yeah, it's rough because I said before, you know, we weren't on match point, but now we totally are. Like, this is now every game that plays from whether it's just one more or the next 5, it's all on DNS to win every game flawlessly. Or even not flawlessly, he just has to win games scrappily. It doesn't matter, but like his life is in danger. And we haven't talked a lot about this. You know, there's the Match Reno thing. We talked to you guys about getting codes out, but we should maybe talk about the prize pool a little bit too, right? I'll bring this up more and reiterate it once we're in game. But at the current value of $6,813, losing here, you'll finish the tournament with like $364 in your pocket. That's not too bad. But second place is worth $1,200. That's like 3 times the prize pool. Like, that's the difference this best of 7 makes.
Yeah, it's a big deal here. This is no matter how you slice it.
Well, it looks like Black-Pink has been the next map selected, and again, hashtag good guy or good girl, or I don't know, Zombie Grub is hosting the lobby for us. I can never... There's like the good guy memes, but if you say good girl, it sounds like you're talking to an animal, like a pet. Like,
yeah, you don't say that. I mean, I think because it's like guy and girl aren't actually. It'd be like saying good boy. Good boy memes don't exist.
Good boy memes sound like a little submissive, if you know what I'm saying. Like,
I don't know. I
pleading
get that.
I'm pleading the fifth on this one.
Man, it's like I'm gonna just take a long sip from this whiskey and just.
I mean, I already made a sex joke in chat, but yours just kind of went even farther.
Wait, a little deeper. All right, well, we got DNS joining the lobby, just waiting on Bly. I just realized. Oh wait, is this in-game name? It's just Bly, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I guess because I got him on player ID or whatever. His name's Acer Bly. I was like, wait a minute. Hasn't been on Acer in a long damn time, but okay. Whenever the players are ready, I guess we'll get into Blackpink. And just if you are just tuning in, folks, this is possibly already the end of the first semifinals. Bly is up 3-0. This is not the score I expected by any means. All right, see you guys here in game. All right, we continue trending here through these best of sevens. I got to do a little bit of shilling, guys, but let's get the intros done before I do. To the top right, he's up 3-0. Looking to lock this down. It's Team Experts Bly.
Match point already. And in the bottom left here, against the ropes, but still alive, this is DnS.
Trolley bits, I did a double take on that one. But yeah, let's talk about the sponsors. Let's talk about the prize pool. Let's talk about a lot of cool stuff while they open up. So first and foremost, obviously, if you guys, they plan to do 3 seasons of this. I hope they follow through with it because this first one has been a lot of fun. The King of the Hills were action-packed. There was it was the good kind of drama. It wasn't like fake drama or petty drama. It was just like, oh my god, this is intense. Who's gonna get through? I loved every bit of this, and I hope we'll see another season for sure. Be sure to check out our sponsors to help make sure that happens, guys. Go to peopleimages.com. Check out their site. High quality images, good pricing, you name it. Videos too. It's all stuff to help you make beautiful looking design projects. High quality work for high quality people. But on top of that, and next to that, the prize pool for this tournament. We still have codes you can use by going to Matcherino. You can type !Matcherino in the chat. It'll bring up the link. If you use the code PeopleImages, it'll add $1 to the prize pool. We've got enough codes for at least $7,000. So we still got 200 plus to go. But right now, as it stands, the prize money difference of these two players, oh, I love the little spray, by the way, is whoever loses this best of 7 walks away from this tournament with no less than $365. However, it's only $365. Might be a little bit more. We'll see. But second place is actually, I said $1,200 earlier. It's closer to $1,300. It's $1,291 at the current time of speaking. Yeah. So again, like 3 times, like, you get so much more money for winning this one best of 7, even if you lose at the finals.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like $300, yes, is a lot of money. But when you know how much the next step is in this tournament, all of a sudden you're like, nah. You get that 300, and in the end of the day, you're like, that sucked, man. You know, because you want that thing, you want thousands of dollars, you want hundreds of dollars. Damn, like, this is a several $1,000 tournament. This is big money. So yeah.
You know what it is? Third place in this tournament are the guys who bought Bitcoin for 10 cents 10 years ago or whatever and sold it all.
Oh God.
Second place are the people who held on to their Bitcoins and have the current day value of them.
I feel like at BlizzCon, I had drinks with like 3 or so people that had an entire esports team funded by the fact that they bought 100 Bitcoins back in like 2008.
Jesus, I wish I could have done that, man. That would have been so cool.
Yeah. Anyway. So we have a pretty regular opening from DnS, not really changing things up at all. He's just once again opening with multiple adepts and going into Stargate play. Bly, just, again, regular ZVP, getting those lings up. DnS, again, opening with Phoenix first before Oracle to try and shoot away those Overlords. Again, losing a probe to 2 lings. Second probe to 2 lings.
Well, I often remark on this when we're casting others, and this is kind of a DNS thing. He brings both of his adepts across the map so early. Sometimes this gets him kills, sometimes it doesn't. Usually it often nets wins. It's not today, unfortunately, but I've got... losing a couple probes sucks. Not the end of the world, but that's the cost of having your units across the map like this. I got no problem with the Stargate opener either. After watching Hero do this relentlessly, having Phoenix clean up these overlords, making sure Bly can't do more drops like just what happened game 3. I mean, everything DNS is doing is fine on paper so far, but this actually goes back to a couple of things we've noticed throughout the series so far, and not to harp on the guy, but there's some very glaring mistakes that have happened that maybe it's cause of latency, you know, Korea to North America, unlikely, but just like, you know, the Stalker stops attacking, let's certainly get an extra probe kill here and there, position with the army a little bit off. I mean, nothing that you're like, wow, DNS is such a noob, but things that you're like, wow, these are things that this guy, a champion, shouldn't be making.
I mean, even if he gets 4-0'd, if anyone called this guy a noob, I'd have to correct them. It's obviously not the case. Some people just have rough series. Lots of drones being made here from Bly, and he's powering into that mid game. DNS doing the same thing, but he is getting some tech here. Twilight Count's going down. Has the Robo going down because he has been lacking that Prism Archon play in these PvZs lately. There's one Oracle finding a couple drone kills, does survive, thankfully. Resonating Glaives, cool. So this is a little bit different than the last couple games for DNS.
Bly's getting a lot of Zerglings right now, and I don't know if this is to actually go for a lot of Zerglings or if this is just him playing timing. Either way, nice catch on shutting down this third.
Yeah, delaying that, killing the probe as well. Very, very nice. The wall is plugged here for DNS. Another probe heading down in to get that third base gets killed. Very, very annoying for DNS. And Bly's just making lings, man. He's putting the foot on the gas pedal, and the gas pedal has a big letter Z on it.
The pedal to the metal.
That's right.
Well, Surround over here is going to be okay, but with the Oracle coming home, he certainly cannot stay, so starts backing out of there. Baneling Nest coming down too. Bly might actually be looking to spice this up for more than defense, but he's still mixing in drone rounds with this. It's like, okay, I'm going to make the next larva, like 8 larva Zerglings, then the next 3 drones, then 8 Zerglings, and so forth. So I don't know how committed versus just defensive, like having units on the field to play with. While Bly attacks, it doesn't necessarily mean he's being aggressive. I think Bly kind of takes to heart the whole, like, no, a good defense is a good offense, right? But now with more links coming out, I'm still like, is this what Bly's? I guess it's getting to that point of all in.
I mean, yeah, he does have these adepts to deal with, but he has way more lings than he needs, and with these 8 banelings, he's absolutely safe from this adept attack. DNS needs to be careful with this Oracle. The Oracle's getting very, very low here.
I look at this with concern because, oh no!
Oh, right on the banelings. Oh man.
Was he just not looking? I mean, he could have seen those banelings just clear as day. That was a little surprising, but that's going to cost DNS his entire attack. And Bly could probably counter off this too. That was a lot of adepts.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, he lost his entire army for 2 drones here, and now Bly has 26 army supply of lings. He's making 11 drones now because he knows that DNS cannot attack him anymore. There is no hope of him having anything across the map for a little while because DNS has to lock things down to a counterattack. And Bly, he's just reading him like a book right now, doing a great job here. DNS does have this Oracle, which is going to help out a lot, and he does have sentries, so he can maybe hold.
I don't think you saw the banelings, Maynard. DNS is like tentative to leave the base because he doesn't know it's here, but those banelings might just walk to the mineral line if all the lings are like, hey, silly army boys, don't chase me over here. That's kind of what's happening. He goes to the sentries on the backside.
Oh!
If that one baneling didn't die, if all 3 had connected perfectly there, that would have been devastating for DNS.
That actually may have been GG right there. Those sentries are his lifeline. They make a funnel for these lings, and if the lings get the surround, that's exactly what the Zerg wants. This Oracle is fantastic against Zerglings as well, but as this Oracle sits at home, it's not across the map tagging armies, it's not looking at tech, it's not, it's not lasering drones down. It's just, you look at the map vision of DNS, and it is pretty woeful. He has to hallucinate Phoenixes in here to have a look and see what's going on. In fact, it's not even a hallucinated Phoenix, it's a real one. So he needs to get across the map and see what's going on, and thankfully he does. He sees this Lurker Den, and that's important.
I'm jaded about this scout though, because, well, normally, yes, this would be a very, very big scout. The same thing kind of happened earlier. You see the Lurker Den, but then Bly hits you with mutas. So will DNS actually be prepared, or is he really paranoid in the back end? Like, oh, I lost to the same thing with mutas earlier after scouting. Like, I hope he's keeping a clear mind, keeping it calm, keeping it relaxed, but right now, Bly, whether he does mind games or not, he's taken another base. He's got so much creep on the map. It's safe to say Bly is in control of this game. Is he winning blindly? Maybe. We'll see. Decision making can really play into that. But sitting on 82 drones on a 5th base, that feels good, man.
One thing he's hurting for here is he doesn't have any upgrades at all. That's going to help. That's going to hurt him as the game goes forward, as the Protoss is heading towards +2 attack. So his army is very squishy. He has to be careful here.
Yeah, Lurker Dam might be finishing up, but he needs time to morph in the Lurkers. He needs time to morph in those Banelings, which are about to have speed. DNS, if he pushes and doesn't stop for these creep tumors, he absolutely catches Bly off guard, but he's playing it safe, and this gives Bly those precious seconds to finish up these Lurkers. And in fact, DNS's detection is like, what, 1 observer? If that gets sniped off, Lurkers win the fight.
Thankfully for him, there's only 1 Overseer, and it's just with his Hydra Ball here. So DNS is being very, very careful, very, very cautious here. And like you said, it is giving Bly time to make the Lurkers, but he only has a few. He's not committing into Lurkers too heavily at the moment. He's starting to make a few more to round out those numbers. His 3 Lurkers is really not very threatening at all. Did DNS just send his army back home? He did. Okay.
Well, the army in the middle of the map has a lot of creep to work with, so he knows where safe spots on the map are.
He's hallucinated to Phoenix here, but it's sort of just chilling at home. The army of Bly is moving forward on the creep, and he's starting to try and secure the middle of the map right now, morphing more of those Lurkers up towards Hive Tech here. Wouldn't be surprised to see a Spire on the way once more from Bly shortly.
This is still, like, in a weird measurement, kind of all in out of Bly. My concern is what you brought up earlier. There are no upgrades for Bly. And I don't just mean like, okay, he's a little bit behind. I mean, honestly, if this attack doesn't work, that could also be it for Bly. Similar to the way we saw DNS play earlier, with Bly's attacking from 2 sides. Attack to the north, forcing Warpins up here, while Lurkers forcing defensive fights down here.
He warps in Stalkers, and normally that's a little bit against Lings, but they have Blink, and they can Blink behind this wall, and they're doing a pretty good job holding here. The 3rd base also looks quite safe. The primary forces of DNS are holding on strong. There's that Spire, and there's that Hive from Bly. And DNS just trying to concentrate on getting that Archon count up with charge lots to deal with these Hydras and Lurkers. There's one Lurker going to get picked off immediately. Nice pick off there for DNS. And yeah, I mean, these upgrades, man, this is +2. This is a +2 tier 3 Protoss army. And this Zerg army still just getting the Evo chambers now. You
know what's missing from this army, Maynard? As good as it is for DNS, there's no storms. If Bly actually made like 50 Banelings rogue style, there'd be nothing to stop them. Oh, he catches the Immortal in the mineral lines too.
These Lurkers are morphed right in the front of that Nexus's face. The Lings are coming forward. The Protoss army is coming through, but it has to walk through these Lurkers. He cannot really defend. A bunch of these probes are so low in hit points that they're just going to die to the Ling nibbles here. One Colossus is down there dealing with the Lings, but DNS is going to clear up this army.
Was this worth that out of Bly? 21 probes is a lot of damage done, but he didn't get the Nexus. He doesn't have upgrades. So falling back off this, his army's not going to be as good matching DNS's. Now, one Colossus, by the way, 39 kills. Hero mode, activate.
Oh, it had like a little SimCity in between the minerals and that gateway there, where the Lings actually wouldn't be able to get a surround around it, and it just laser beams so many units dead. Now these units, you know, DNS feels like he has the opportunity to start clearing up some of this creep. Where's the Observer? There it is. Just now joining in.
Okay, so it's Digging Claws. We're going to have, of course, Greater Spire pair up with this, and this will look like that similar in-game composition, but Digging Claws is going to make a world of difference for how these Lurkers can fight. But oh no, Maynard. DNS has pulled everything across the map. You might not be looking at home. He's classically got good reaction times.
Yeah, nice reaction times there. 6 probes do die, but that could have been way worse for DNS. He's sitting on 56 probes. Obviously, that's a fair bit lower than the 72 drones of Bly. But, I mean, I hate to keep harping on it, but the upgrades really are going to matter for the time being. The double Evo chambers are spinning now for Bly. This is a bold attack here from DNS. That's a very, very hard position to crack here.
You know, you don't often, if ever, go armor upgrades as Protoss until after you're done your +3, but man, if DNS had armor upgrades against a player who's got no upgrades, Bly wouldn't even touch this army.
If you had those upgrades, shit.
Okay, Lings are, I thought, setting up for a big surround, but looks like they're just going to run straight by and go for that 3rd base kill. DNS does have a 4th base up and running to the south. Bly doesn't actually have confirmation of it.
Observer nearly dies the Spore Crawler there. Bly is trying to engage. A lot of splash damage from this Colossi are helping out tons against these Hydras. And the Corruptor's morph just in front of his face. A Ling counterattack from the back. The Charge Lots are there to meet it with a Warp Prism reinforcing, though. And DNS takes an all-right fight there, man.
So this is what I was worried about for Bly. He goes across the map and spends a lot to try and kill this base. Even if he kills us, though, well, maybe not vision. He doesn't see that. Yeah, there's no. He's seen this in cannon. I don't know if he knows about the 4th base. This is not a devastating kill for DNS, but it's a lot of damage done.
He's lost his Nexus back at home to these Lings as well as a bunch of probes. DNS is putting more pressure on himself. You have to get this damage done here. These Colossi still alive. They are starting to tear apart this Hydra army, and they do crush through it. The Protoss army cannot be stopped here.
Well, maybe, because what's left for anti-air? It's one almost dead Archon and 2 Stalkers. These Broodlords might hold.
Maybe. Yeah, there's only a couple of these Stalkers here with Blink, yes, but they are hurt, and they are not high enough in number. Archons are coming in for DNS with the Prism as well, able to warp in more and more Stalkers. He does have a bit of tank to be able to do that. Prism Micro as well, trying to chase down these Broodlords. DNS fighting for his life here in this tournament. Is starting to look like he may have a chance in this game.
So tough. That Warp Prism might get picked off here by the Hydras. Oh, good backup.
Yeah, ping be damned. DNS doing a nice job keeping that Prism alive. There's Archon still kept alive, and he did a lot of damage there. He killed that hatchery, took a great shade against the army, but Bly is starting to re-max here. He's getting his Lurker count up. He's getting his Hydra count up. He has a pretty scary army.
I just realized, well, whatever's going on for Bly, know what DNS is 4th. DNS doesn't know about Bly's 5th. Like, Bly, after this base went down, this should have fallen down to like 1 or 2 Zealots, but DNS never killed it. I still don't think he knows about it. In fact, he still has no vision on it. Whether he knows about it or not, he's moving up to it now.
Yeah, and this, you know, this hurts Bly quite a bit, but his army, if it's positioned well, can have a hard gotcha effect on the Protoss army. I'm just a little bit worried about Bly for now because his bank isn't impressive. He doesn't have a ton of gas income anymore. It's going to hurt him. We see that the probe count, yeah, it's lower than the Zergs, but not by that much.
That's where this gets really interesting for me, because I think type and positioning is going to be very important here. The Stalkers obviously want to blink under the Broodlords and pick them off, but if they do, they blink into a death trap of Lurkers. Oh, Overseer goes into siege mode. Got it. One Lurker over here, chipping away at probes. Oh, starting to get those kills. That's going to force a recall even. Okay, I think that's out of range of detection, so he recalls the Observer home. And only the Observer home.
Cool. I mean, it's enough. He definitely wants his army out here to keep pressuring Bly. Doesn't want him to re-expand.
Well, you could have just chronoed out an Observer. It's exactly what he did. So it's a little bit awkward, but okay. He's still got 3 Observers on the front line. Detection is not a problem for DNS right now.
Hydra's coming forward against 3 Photon Cannons with a shield battery. I'm not sure they're going to get a ton here. Especially considering there's also a Protoss force here to be able to meet those Hydras. Meanwhile, DNS going to press the issue. He's going for another hatchery, blinking aggressively on that hatchery. That's going to go down. So Corrupt is picking up as well.
It's Bly's last mining base. That's really going to sting losing that, but he was double expanding before this attack even came down, so maybe we'll recover off this because he did keep the drones alive at least. The only drone deaths are here in the main, and there's not that many to kill.
Infestors on the way here for Bly. Obviously, they don't have upgrades, but they maybe out of lockdown the Protoss army a little bit. Obviously, he's not going to have Neural or anything like that, so, I mean, just to lock things down and make it easier for his army to engage it. Maybe the Lurkers? I'm not too sure. He does have Digging Claws, so...
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like a fungal growth on a clumped up army could go a long way, but unfortunately for him, while he's like, I love the idea of these infestors. I don't know if execution's gonna be here. Obviously, first off, there's always gonna be the threat of feedbacks, right? Boom, snap your fingers, and the infestor implodes. But furthermore, we're moving to this point now where DNS is getting to late game Protoss. He's got decent upgrades. Sure, the gas bank's not there, but he's starting to re-expand. And well, infestors are pretty cool with their new infested Terrans. Without those proper upgrades, they're still gonna be very weak anti-air. I actually really love DNS's position right now, like having those Nexi mining right now, getting the, like you mentioned, the late game Protoss army. He's got the fleet beacon down. He's starting to produce Tempests. He could have gone carriers as well. Both options pretty solid, and also getting that Storm upgrade, albeit, you know, a lot of people will say, hey, we had a Storm 1,000 years ago, but Storm coming better late than never. It's going to be fantastic against the army of Bly, which is primarily quite squishy. Yeah, actually, on that note, too, I was just taking a quick look at the upgrades. Like, yes, we finally had 1-1 come out of Bly, but he doesn't have adrenal glands or a lot of the other hive tech upgrades that would go really well. It is just the Digging Claws. So kind of, in a weird way, all in with Lurker Broodlord. And for now, it's fine until those air units come into play. But DNS is paying attention once again, pulls the majority of probes away from this, lose a little bit of gas mining, but... This is one thing I'm glad to see out of DNS. I feel like these first couple games, couple hiccups, couple mistakes, game 4 finally turns on or wakes up or whatever the case may be, because he's playing a lot better. And the reaction time has been fantastic so far, but looking to see how these infestors get used. Maybe the fungal?
They're going to get fed back, so what they're going to get. They get one fungal there on the High Templar, but the High Templar do escape with their lives and feed back one of those infestors. Broodlord's heading forward here. There is a lot of Stalkers from DNS. Does pick off one of those High Templar, and he only gets a second when those Broodlings. Does get the second.
Ooh, those are expensive losses, but there's that blink into the Lurkers. Always got to be careful about that. Picking up a Broodlord's nice, but not if it's going to cost you all your Stalkers.
15 drones died to it, just a couple Archons and some Zealots as well at that base there for Bly. His herd economy hurting even more now.
It's taken a long time to get this anti-air out, but he finally has some of it churning. We got Tempest enough to start one-shotting the Broodlords. Maybe Void Race to back this up too is kind of a cool move. I really like the Mothership, of course, but what I'm worried about, not the units that DNS is making, it's the units Bly's making, because he still doesn't really have a lot of anti-air, and giving away Hydras like this, not something he can afford to do, whether he realizes it or not.
Yeah, they don't win that engagement. Bly, unfortunately, losing that Hydra force. I mean, the army of DNS is, it's got +2 attack. He hasn't gotten +3 just yet. He's been spending his gas very, like, it's pretty much as soon as that gas comes in, he's spending it. He's getting Void Rays, which are very gas expensive. The Mothership, of course, very expensive. There's those upgrades going towards air weapons now, so he's well and truly transitioning. But, yeah, I'm just further and further loving DNS's position and not really loving Bly's.
I gotta draw attention to the fact that the resources lost, by the way, is what kind of insane makes sense for the way the course of the game's gone. My fear for this was at least early on, Bly had the income to take those losses, but it's actually for the last 5 minutes now. It's been DNS with the income lead, DNS with all the probes, and Bly with none of the drones.
Man, Chargeless in the main, nearly getting another Hydra as well. In fact, they did get one Hydra, trying to get a second. Just being very annoying here, and honestly, DNS can afford to throw away a couple charge lots. That's no big deal. He doesn't care about charge lots anymore. It is all about that air army and those tier 3 units. This force, even with just Stalkers and Mortals, and it's something that Bly needs to take seriously, funnily enough. They will kill a hatchery if nothing's there.
Okay, well, here comes the Tempest and the Void Rays. These are gonna melt through those Broodlords. The best thing this Infestor can do, really, is there's two hypotheticals. You either throw down a ton of Infested Terrans and hope that works, or fungal the Stalkers and catch them when they blink in. That way you only have to deal with the air instead of the ground. Neither of these situations are preferable, and with attacks constantly going on down here, this doesn't look good for Bly.
3 of those Lurkers wasn't enough to hold this base, and he is going to absolutely mince through this drone line and through this hatchery. All the forces of Bly here, his important units are down at this base, but the Tempests are starting to pick off those Broodlords. A big fungal goes down the air army, but it doesn't seem to matter. There just looks like a lot here from DNS.
Yeah, a few more Hydras. This might have worked out for Bly, and that kind of goes down to the mass losses he's been taking, but this is probably going to be game. 73 Hydras dead.
Wow. Didn't realize that many Hydras died in this game.
Actually, there's a lot of everything that died this game, so much so that it goes off the unit's loss chart.
Well, that's it for the Broodlords. These Lurkers are the lifeline for Bly now. And while they are pretty good against the ground army, there is still that air army that he has to worry about. That old chestnut.
Did he lose all of his detection? I think he did.
DNS?
Yeah, so he couldn't push into the Lurker. I'm like, why didn't he just finish that off? So he just goes through to the main instead. But yeah, with Zealot attacks. This is game, man. I love Bly. He fights to the bitter end, but there is no doubt in my mind DNS is locking us down at this point. Even if the Lurkers still have everything on the ground, there's just nothing to deal with the air.
And he agrees with you. GG from Bly, and DNS gets a point on the board. Happy to see it as well. Well played. Yeah, that was actually a really sick comeback from DNS. If you guys can, like, that was a long game. If you can go all the way back to that start, he lost his Nexus. Like, he took tons of damage to those Lings, and then somehow scraped together a massive win there. Looked rough for him.
Well, it's so much more important than just like getting a point on the board too, because that was like his last life. So it's like the most important point to get on the board, right?
Yeah, but, I mean, to start winning points now if you're going to win points at all.
Yeah. Well, it does give him 1 point. Bly still has a very great position. It's hard to like, oh, Bly, you took the loss, but it's not the end of the world for him. He's got a lot to live for still. He's in a really good position for this series. Quick look at the brackets before we go to break, though. And when we get back, guys, because we are going to go to a break here, it'll be myself and Zombie Grub coming at you. Well, Maynard gets the turn for a break. So sit tight, and we'll be back here in a few. Thanks for watching, guys. No complaints about it, but man, I gotta stretch across that keyboard for that 7 in this best of 7. But spawning here to the top left in game number 5, he still has command of this series. He's still up 3-1. It's the Red Zerg, Bly. What is he up to?
In the top right is the blue Protoss. He is DnS. What are you up to?
So Bly's got a couple proxy builds in his pocket. I'm really curious which type this would be. He might just put it out over here and go for Ravagers. He might just go straight up, put it next to the base. Either way, he sends the drone in a really interesting pathway because this will not get scouted. Like, you could argue, okay, well, sometimes Protoss will blindly put the pylon here, so you go through the top, so you go through the middle, but you don't want to get scouted, so of course you go through the bottom. Like, Bly went about as around about the map to avoid getting scouted as possible, and he's still... Because this map has a gold base, DnS has to go extra far to confirm that this isn't a hatchery build.
Yeah, and I think one of the other problems is that, you know, he could just keep the probe, yeah, exactly where... Wait, was it him that did the pylon block? Who was it?
Yes, famously him versus Denver.
Yeah, you just put it, you just keep it there and wait for the drone transfer. You don't actually check the gold in case you miss it, but he is going to check the gold. And this is where he really starts, you know, scratching his head and realizing, oh, okay, he's gonna, you know, there's... Against someone else, maybe you're really like, well, what in the world could he possibly do? And we take my gold? Like, what's going on? But against Bly, it's like, okay, proxy hatchery's got to be like number 3 or 4 on your list of things to check off.
So he did cancel the Nexus. He was taking out the gold, by the way. Really smart moves out of DnS. But Bly's going for the spine crawler version of this?
Perhaps, yeah. Well, I mean, you can add spine crawlers initially and add roaches later, but yeah, definitely with the drones coming across, the hatchery's going to be kept safe. The Zealot already being pumped out, though, this is like the worst part about it being scouted at all, is that the Zealot already being out can cancel like 1 or 2 of these spine crawlers. It's never gonna get the hatchery, so yeah, I definitely focus on spine crawlers, but Bly's gonna have to play some cancel, remake micro here. Get it, Zealot. Get it.
It was a little bit short on cash because he had started some links up. These will be able to help thwart this a little bit, but that other spine crawler not going to finish up. Now, even if these spines aren't done right now, as long as they get done at all, that's all that's going to matter. Queen can eventually do some transfuse work, and we'll see him try and handle this as the spine crawler completes. This will pick off that Zealot.
This is, you know, besides being able to cancel 1 or 2 of these spine crawlers, so you're really delaying the massive attack. You also get so much more time to build stalkers. You had another gateway when you really shouldn't have.
He's gonna put this by the front, but he can actually put this in the mineral lines to pick off the cyber core or the shield batteries. Like, this map actually presents some disgusting positioning that you could take advantage of.
Oh no! By not killing that spine crawler, the transfuse might go down.
Oh really.
No, creep tumor? Okay, well, yeah, I guess it's important to continue advancing.
He almost gets a stalker through this. That's kind of nice to see. Shield batteries it up though. More Zerg's coming across the map. I mean, just so everyone is fully aware, this is all in. There's no question about it. That's just how this build goes.
Yeah. DnS has some pretty good target fire going on here, like denying a creep tumor. Yeah, sure, he had another 25 energy pretty quickly, but still slowing the advancement while he gets up another gateway. I'm surprised he didn't add on a robo. And also letting those links get through. I'm surprised by that too. They can actually chill out anywhere on this map. They don't have to engage right now.
Yeah, he was actually going to check the gold base. Unfortunately for him, there is not one. It would actually be amazing for Bly if there was, because DnS canceling that base is the reason he's got the stalkers and, more importantly, the shield batteries to play this out. And all DnS has to do is defend. This isn't a game where Bly's going to be macroing up back at home behind this.
Yeah. He did fake a natural hatchery, you know, when the probe came to scout, and he might even take a natural. Like, definitely Bly, a guy that can try and macro out of a weird build like this, but it's going to be super difficult to do, having killed no economy yet. But there's always the threat of Ling drops. The Lings over here are going to be dealt with. I mean, there's going to be multiple points of attack, but DnS looks to be covered on multiple points.
This was a game that was so close. Like, this depended on scouting more than any other game of this variety, just because it's this map. Like, make no mistake, guys, Bly picked this map with something like this entirely in mind, tailored to the map itself. He's starting out +1 melee. It's a bold move, Cotton. We'll see if it pays off.
Right.
But this unload mechanic though, it'd be tough to deal with. DnS actually just scouted some Lings. Does he know? Stalker's coming up.
Yeah,
Now he
the
does.
disappointing thing right now for Bly is that DNS is kind of past that point where he needs absolutely perfect positioning. He has enough of an army that can be put in both locations. Well, just about. Yeah, 2 more depths. Okay, that'll do it. And this army can go back into the main, which it probably should.
Okay. Force Field's creating a bit of a maze there. Lings running up towards the main are going to just run through everything they can. So you can still slip by that Zealot, so turns around to kill it. Shield battery's going to be a pain in the ass to chip through, though. So it goes for probe kills. It's going to take a lot of probe kills for this to work, though, because there is that gold base you can transfer to.
Yeah. Bly, I think, has lost this game, actually. DNS, most importantly, got a scout. That was the most important thing. And then second of all, knew how to react. You know, we see a lot of Protosses not react appropriately after scouting, but he knew what to do.
I mean, he's even put the pylon down here so you would know if the back rocks got taken. I mean, DNS is, like I said, I don't know what it is. Game 4, something snapped, he woke up. The smelling salts, like, he's playing better now, for sure, than he did in the first 3 games today.
Yeah. Bly is in a ton of trouble without a natural base. He's trying to take the gold, which is, you know, the smartest thing he can do, but it's so late. +1 melee is not going to help the Lings enough. Kind of wish he had, you know, added the 100 minerals to a faster hatchery, because it just really doesn't seem like it's going to be useful. He's adding on a Roach more now, gives something a little bit beefier to go up against his army with, but be also more expensive, slower, not great at buying time. He's just going to wait for the death push here.
Circling straight up, not too badly over there. These ones will run in and hopefully get some probe kills, but the army's already here. DNS doesn't need money to make an army. When you already have the army, then it doesn't matter that you're losing these probes the way he is. And he is losing a fair amount of them, especially with these new Lings running into the south, but there's nothing. These spine callers aren't done yet. There's no army at home to defend. This, yeah, it's a bleed out. Bly's on borrowed time.
Bly's also kind of supply blocked. You can make like 1 roach and that's it.
Oh, 580 minerals in the hole.
Yeah.
But don't talk about banking minerals.
GG. Well, okay. So not like, we all love Bly. He's obviously a very great player. He's up still in score, but Bly is one of those pro gamers that almost always has like a bank. And you're just like, well, is this a mistake or is this because he's thinking of a Spire in a minute?
Exactly. Bly might not be winning these last 2 games, but he still has 2 games to go. 1 more game where he's in advantage, and then 1 game where he's possibly playing for his life. So if you're a big Bly fan, you know, you're starting to sweat a little bit, but you're not super worried just yet. And we'll see what the next map pick is. We're almost through all the maps, though, so there's not a lot left to choose from, and he's going with Ascension to Ire.
Yeah, the Catalyst is the other one. I think that'll be the last map.
I don't know why. I just had this weird flash, like, trying to remember what maps are there. Go back to the Brood War tournaments we were casting, where it was, like, not just okay, but standard to repick the same map over and over again. Yeah,
I still am really confused about that one. As someone who watches Pro Brood War, I can totally confirm that that's not what's done, but somehow it made its way to the amateur leagues, that was an okay rule, and I'm like, that is so weird.
It just doesn't make sense.
And usually when it came to like amateur leagues, like guys that weren't Korean pros, usually whatever they did transferred to StarCraft 2. You know, they were kind of the basis. So I'm surprised that if that is the way it was, why didn't that transfer to StarCraft 2? Like, why was 2010 not full of repeat maps? Because I don't think it ever was. 2010 is a little hazy in my memory, but that's what I remember.
Well, this lobby finishing up here in just a moment, so we get all the players invited. Even though, just so you guys know, by the way, too, even if it's me on break or Maynard or Zombie Grub, whoever's not casting in the current rotation, they're still in the game, they're still spectating with us, they're still watching the games live, so just making sure we get everybody that we can in here. Also, we've missed a lot, but just a quick little cap off here. Thank you, Nem182, for that Prime sub, as well as Haplo42. Hailforth cheered some bits earlier. We had Kinesha donate $5. Surgic25 came back for a sub. Jumper Legs for 23 months, and Yoda the Drunk. I think that's everybody we missed so far today. Thank you guys so much. Oh, and Fluffy Zealing gave us a joke earlier, of course, through donations. But let's hop into game, shall we? It's Ascension to Ire. See you guys for map number 6. All right, folks, it's game 6. Maybe going to the ace match. We'll see how this game goes. Of course, thank you for the folks who subbed during the intro there. To the top left, we have the Red Zerg player, Team Experts, Bly.
In the bottom right, as the blue Protoss, he is DNS.
Now, I've been making these jokes about DNS waking up and churning on, but I guess we should note that it's actually fairly late in Korea. In fact, he's probably been awake all day, if I had to guess. Because this is getting to that point of past midnight, I believe. Or we're already past midnight, rather. Yep.
Yes, yeah. I figured if it's 12:20 or 1:20 a.m., but it's one of those ones. Nailed it. Anyways, so I'm actually thinking about how like DNS has come back into this game. That last game, or in the series rather, that last game, okay, you throw out a cheese, it doesn't work. That's a great way to start your opponent's momentum back. It's always a little risky, but sometimes they just simply know how to defend it. Okay, fine. But it's game number 4, the one that almost got Bly, the victory right then and there, that I really feel like DNS was like, that's where he showed he was coming back in a form. Because he had a terrible start. He actually still looked like DNS who got down 3-0 in the first 8 minutes of that game. Banelings sliding into his adepts, letting Lings kill his probes again. And then, you know, 10 minutes into the game, he was like, okay, I'm getting my juices flowing. And he did come back from a pretty bad start in a very long game. So I'm actually quite confident in another macro game this time for DNS, where if it was game number 4, I would be like, no, DNS is that, like, not looking like it's his day-to-day.
That's where it's interesting for me, right? Because Bly also already played a decent macro game versus DNS too. Granted, it wasn't as long or as drawn out as that one, but I think the one where DNS turned this around, I want to give a lot of credits to DNS for playing correctly, but I'm also a little bit like wagging my finger at Bly because there was no upgrades for the first like 18 minutes of the game, and even when he did have upgrades, he still didn't take full advantage of his hive. And I think Bly's got the right moves for almost every situation. It's just the execution to go with those moves.
Yeah. We always know Bly, as I talked a little bit about his banking problem in the, you know, just a couple minutes ago, but he's always a bit of a drunken master, you know, like he'll make, I think, a few more obvious macro mistakes, mostly macro, micro he's pretty good on, but mostly macro mistakes than other pro players, but he seemingly still makes it kind of work. That 4th game, I think, was one of those where like, okay, that was just one too many mistakes, you know, you read the game a little wrong, you didn't macro quite as fast, get the upgrades as fast, get the Broodlords as fast, like, yeah, he definitely fell behind, and I think it was of his own accord. Like, he was kind of the one that pushed that game to DNS's victory, but still, that was the momentum, which, along with dealing with the cheese, DNS has now taken on macro and micro and done well. I think he's back into the series officially, and I'm kind of hoping that it goes to a game 7, because DNS is, I mean, he's the Protoss, right? And I think Cyril's going to win this next series, so I'm kind of not wanting a ZVZ finals. So in my eyes, I just want the Protoss to get through.
I don't give Sarah the free win, but I kind of see what you mean. Also, there's some question in chat. I guess we should explain really quick. DNS is currently in Korea, but he is not Korean. He is French.
Yes.
So, I'm not sure who started the rumor or the question, but there's the definitive answer.
There's a ton of Europeans and Canadians, I guess, in the Korea house now. But let's see here. Ling's looking for that opportunity. This time, DNS not letting even like a couple get through to kill a couple of probes. Opens with a Void Ray. He's gonna open up with a Phoenix every other time.
Yeah, actually, that is odd, frankly. But at the same time, Bly has shown several games now where drop overlords have been a really big factor. And while the Void Ray, whatever for killing the Lings, it's nice, it would remove overlords faster than anything else. So that drop factor shouldn't be, well, a factor at all.
Yeah. I'm actually thinking, as you know, people keep bringing up the Korea-French thing, asking if, you know, they're trying to make it in the GSL. Yeah, DNS tried to play in the GSL this season, but lost out one too many times. He actually won against UY. Bringing it back to that kind of as we have a lull in the beginning of this game, but just thinking, watching some of those guys stream, because some of them have been streaming, like Sorta, for instance, the Korean server is just a different style. I wonder if some of that, the first 3 or 4 games, was kind of getting back to like, oh right, it's Bly. Oh right, like this is how he plays. Because he must be playing very different styles over in Korea for a longer time.
That's actually a pretty good point. I mean, Bly's always been known for lightly tap in to call him special tactics. You know, Nidus Worms, Mutas on the back end. Like, he does play different than most Zerg players standardly do, but unfortunately, the game comes to a boilerplate at some point. You're going to play it the same way everyone else does once Broodlords are in play, once Lurkers are your core composition.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I don't know how Zergs are playing in Korea, but man, like, I was watching sort of stream, and Terrans are going, like, ghost builds against Zerg, and I'm like, Korea truly is a magical place. Like, what is
Well,
this?
you know what? I watched Nate do this actually recently too, and of course we've been dicking around in team games. I've been nuking people left and right. But the more I do that, the more I watch these guys, the more this Ghost actually, with their new cost adjustment, might actually be the viable thing to do.
Oh. Well, this was just a no.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that was about. Even if that, what? Because like the scouting from a slow void ray not worth it. Yeah, an Oracle on deck you could have paired that up with. Like that was awkward. That was all kinds of awkward. But anyways, we'll talk more about the Ghost build if we maybe see TY or excuse me Bunny pull that out versus Serral. But either way, I think between snipes and their auto tests, Ghosts are kind of cool to see. But I wouldn't mind if that was like a more standard thing. But I think kind of similar to the Protoss problem for Terran, it is somewhat the same for Zerg, where we're just watching people try things. Like, what do I do to beat this? Okay, weird things.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that from what I gathered of the people talking, the programmers talking, is that it kind of is just like, they don't understand why it doesn't seem to be very good in the higher leagues, you know, like the top GM. But I would say that it's just them being like, well, I can't beat these guys any other way, so let's try something really weird. But anyways, not that we've seen too many weird things here. Bly is playing as Bly would. DnS usually relying on Stargate openers. The one time he played the Resident Enclaves was his comeback game, but definitely not because of the attack with the Adepts. That actually failed entirely. But as I recall on, I think it was Odyssey, he did something, you know, working to this Stargate opener with Phoenix and Void Array, but still Warp Prism harassment, getting into the Colossus, but going into Blink, not Charge. Pretty quickly here.
Oh, doesn't quite get the Warp Prism. Blink, I think, is going to serve him well in terms of getting away from the Lurkers that you accidentally walk into and blinking under the Broodlords or catching mutas. I think against Bly specifically, the mobility and utility is better than the Charge, which Charge is just, it's damage. You run into the Lurkers faster, is all that really does for you. So I think having some survivability and control will play well for DnS. Warp Prism still bit of a nuisance here.
Yeah. I guess Stalkers did get better against Lurkers as well, thinking on their upgrades.
Yeah, hit and run the hell away.
Well, I'm thinking more like they're more mini Immortals. Immortals are kind of what you need. But it would be like interesting. I mean, back in the very beginning of Legacy of the Void, Protoss versus Zerg was, well, first of all, Protoss dying left and right, and then second of all, it was Blink Stalker Disruptor versus Lurkers, right? And that was like a huge part of this matchup. And that's usually what we'd see, Disruptors. But oh boy, Disruptors got changed, they got buffed, they got nerfed again. Like, they don't seem to be used at all.
They got dumped by M. Canning.
Yeah, he broke up with them. Yeah, and then its Colossus are a lot more dependable, but it is those Immortals usually pack a punch. But Bly not moving out, just taking 5 bases, getting a Spire, really just units defending here, getting some upgrades. DnS gonna have plenty of time to get to a pretty perfect Protoss army.
On that note too, just take a quick peek at the income graph. I mean, Bly has been doing it right. He's been getting all these bases. He's been getting a lot of creep spread. While this has been a more passive game than what we're used to seeing, it's not going to be for long. With the mutas causing some havoc on the back lines, we're sure to see an attack go through the front lines. I mean, Bly's the guy who takes advantage of his opponent messing up. I think, actually, on that note too, going back to the micro-macro thing for Bly, that for me, there's another element to this where it's like mistakes. Like, can you make your opponent make mistakes? Yeah, that's not easy to do in StarCraft 2, but the players who do, those are the best players in the game, and that is an element Bly is probably strongest at. Like, we got the character sheet, right? He's got like plus 10 in charisma, maybe 2 in intelligence, and 15 in making your opponent make mistakes.
Whoa.
You gave him a 2.
No, I love Bly. So I'm just teasing him, guys. I'm friends with Bly. But the point still stands, though. I think that's where one of his strengths are. So he distracts on the top side. All the Stalkers are up here waiting for this inevitable lane attack, but really it's the mutas heading towards the main. And there's but a single shield battery and cannon, a couple Stalkers. There's not really much to defend.
Yeah. Well, I also want to like really drive home that by going Blink so quickly, making his army mostly Stalkers, he doesn't mind warping in more Stalkers, and when he does, they can actually chase the damn mutas. Not like that other game we saw the mutas deal like 40 probes worth of damage, but even without, you know, even with Blink, we still have a lot of trouble here. Probes are dying to Lings and mutas. Stalkers are trying to chase them down, but not quite catching up.
the question is, were all of these mutas worth it? And I think in a game where it was incredibly passive, you're justified losing this much minerals and gas for a couple of probe kills.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really great when you see the army still there. You know, like if you're like, okay, where'd the Colossus, Sentry, Zealot, Immortals go? And you're like, oh shit. But if you see the army is still there, you still have some creep spread to fall back on too, although Bly's not usually like too far in the creep spread. You feel pretty confident. Yep. So, you know, having this army, he's actually gonna move forward? Nah, he's not gonna move forward. Yeah, he is. No, he's not.
This was cool though, because this wasn't like, okay, the mutas killed 35 probes, right? This was the mutas killed like maybe half, if not less, and it was the lings and the banelings that killed most of them. So again, it's just Bly taking advantage of positioning, your opponent not paying attention or reacting to the wrong part of this. He's gonna finally give away the rest of these mutas. A little bit sad to see, but he will get a couple probes on the way out.
Watching that mini-map was so weird. Bly really was doing this whole, like, should I go? No. Should I go? No. Should I go? Maybe he was worried about the War Prism coming back. I don't know, but he absolutely should have just stayed at home if he knew that DNS was getting to that frustrated point of, like, well, like, I can finally move out. Needs to be in pretty good position, needs to have those lurkers in a nice con case, the Colossus are as ineffective as possible, because this army of DNS is, at the moment, better than Bly's until he gets that Greater Spire done. But DNS isn't really pushing his advantage.
Oh, maybe he will be over here. This is going to try and attack the drones, get the lurker in, maybe? Nah, it's not going to have much success. Bailings quickly clean this up. Very well. It doesn't go for the War Prism, though! Bly!
Whoopsie. Spawning so many places at once. Also still harassing, I think, is what's drawing his attention. Mutas got back to the main base, killed a couple of probes. Back into the 4th as well. Noting, I guess, there's still a lot of stalkers on that side of the map, but unfortunately losing a couple of lurkers in the transit. Still buying time for the Greater Spire that has to finish, and then he can make Broodlords, so I don't think Broodlords are going to be able to save him this time.
Digging Claws also on the way will be good for positioning, but it's not. It doesn't actually add any damage to the lurkers per se. It doesn't add any sustainability to this army.
It's just scary. DNS's army, it's bigger in army supply. It's got some decent upgrades. It's strong. It doesn't have those Immortals to pack a punch, but it's got a lot of Archons and quite a few Colossus.
If Bly focus fired that one observer, though, that makes a difference, and that's what he's doing.
Yeah!
He picks it off. Okay, well, Revelation comes in, but that doesn't grab all the lurkers. So Bly has some holding point here. Sure, he might lose his base, but as we see here, the Stalkers walk in and realize, oops, I don't have enough detection.
Yeah, that was... this is not an army that I think that can push anymore. I mean, maybe technically it could, but, you know, DNS is probably worried about reinforcements coming in at this point, so he's going to back off, just take the base, deal with the harassment, and probably leave, which is going to give Bly that time to build Broodlords, which he certainly still has a bank for. He was just waiting on the Corruptors.
What's interesting, too, is like he doesn't start Broodlords right away, which is a bit of an issue. Then on top of this, he's been focusing on +3 weapons. For the lurkers, obviously, you're going to benefit from those. Hydras get some damage, too, but that Revelation just ran out. That's not even DNS's fault. That was just, like, bad timing. Like, he had vision on the lurkers. He was going in ready to fight, and then it just wore off. And you're like, well, shoot, what do I do now?
Even then, I think it's just a very clumped up group of stalkers.
That gives time for the Broodlords to finish, though. The Broodlords at this point, I don't know if they're really that much about damage, as much as they are just buffering for the lurkers.
That's good. I mean, Broodlings, they're actually kind of difficult to get past, and you don't... The combination of Lurker Broodlord is going to be amazing. You know, the Stalkers usually could be able to blink underneath, even there were a couple of Banelings, it's not enough, but Lurkers, yeah, you're not going to blink on top of Lurkers to get Broodlords. So, a perfect defensive setup, but this is... kind of to a degree what happened on what was a Black-Pink, except that DNS's economy maybe not as strong, but Bly's not so much either anymore. Like, we're kind of back to this point of, like, who is going to weather the storm longer? Like, they both have decent army types, but now we're getting into, like, well, who has the bank, who has the economy?
I know the focus is on the Broodlords, but I almost wish it wasn't. One thing I would love to see Bly do is keep Corruptors just to snipe that Observer.
Yeah.
Detection is a real touchy subject for DNS, frankly.
He doesn't like talking about it. This is... So DNS has, I think, a lot of control to continue maneuvering like this, but actually breaking Bly, that's going to be difficult to do. So he's taking away Bly's eyes here. The creep tumors are going to go away. The Zanagish honestly should be taken out. Oh, no. Oh, lordy. Okay.
Yeah, this is a bit of a callback to Bly not having +2 melee. This is a really big deal. I'd rather see +2 melee and +2 range rather than +3 range, because then these Banelings are so much more effective. They one-shot probes, they'll take out the Zealots quicker, you name it. But one thing about this map we haven't really touched base on is there's a lot of ramps, a lot of bad chokes, and that's a big part of why DNS can't push in to do some serious damage, because every time he does, there's Broodlords, Lurkers, and Spine Crawlers waiting for him. So a couple of Banelings here, a couple of Banelings there. Bly's the one who's actually dealing damage, and this is a lot of Hydras to commit. This is not a small army, and Bly can't afford to replace these.
Right, exactly. He can't afford to replace those, but I think he's just banking on Broodlord Lurker being too powerful on a ramp, which I think he's correct about, but it is a gamble. So I think DNS realizing he's not going to break, you know, the ramps on Ascension to Ire, like it is very map specific in this case, recalls back without too much worry here, chase down Hydras. This ends up not being so much worth it because it wasn't much for the Hydra loss. At least he was hoping for a Nexus or a couple probes.
Well, Bly, just check his vision real quick, right? Where he was attacking, stupid bad Archons. Where he was attacking, he didn't get to the main. He didn't see the Tempest production. He doesn't know about the Fleet Beacon. So giving away the Hydras is bad in terms of trading, but it's awful in terms of the fact that he has no anti-air right now.
Yes, yeah, it is. This is why I was talking about it's going down to the economy. Like, they both have already compositions for what they're going against, but who could advance to the next step with a bank? And it seems to be DNS is getting there faster. He's got a Tempest and have shown themselves to an Overlord. Bly now has to decide how to even deal with these. You know, Zergs are already having trouble enough when they're on 7 bases, big bank against an army like this. This game, Bly is on a less of a bank, less of a supply, with not enough hatcheries, and he's now going to deal with the air army of a Protoss.
You know, I'm not exactly a super fit guy myself, but I at least can say I've never gotten stuck between buildings. I have not wedged myself between a chair and a table. These Archons, I got nothing on them.
I don't really understand, you know, because the ball is an energy force, isn't it? Like, you can go through the energy. They just like lift their arms and like kind of shimmy through, and I think they'd be fine.
First off, I agree, but at the same time, that energy is like a shield that like it keeps other units away. So the same way a Zergling can't just like jump on the face of an Archon, neither can a building.
I guess I'm actually trying to think of how the Archon Ultra dynamic happened in the cinematic, and I'm like, where did the Ultra actually stop? Because he sent his arms out. I don't remember if it touched the barrier. I don't know.
Get some CSI analytics on this. Find out for the cinematic. But we do have Bly countering once again. There's Zerglings, there's Hydras. It's still not that much, but it's still, well, not much in general is everything for Bly. Like, these are not things he can really afford to lose. For Zealots, like, this isn't an okay trade. Not yet.
I'm not sure why Bly's adding an Ultra Cavern too. Like, his concern in this game has never, and this is really odd to say, has never been Storms. DNS does not bother getting to Storm.
Actually,
and the Ultras are really, that's where they're most effective.
We're like 6 games deep, and I don't know that we've seen Storm a single time.
I think he researched it once, but I'm not even sure that we saw it used. So it's pretty rare to see, but it has been working out for him to a degree. He started this series off 3-0, but it's like working in his favor because it's kind of like almost a mind game. Like, I don't know, like Bly's expecting High Templars to be on the ground, so he's making the potential get Ultras. He's not making them, so maybe this is just a preparedness for the future thing, but he is making Vipers and Infestors now.
So we got a big caster change up coming in. I don't mean because Maynard's on deck for the next game, but because we got 3 Infestors, 3 Vipers, and hopefully some good spells that will go off. I don't... I look at the Infestors, and we talked a little bit about this before. What can they really cast? There's no Neuroparasite. We're not going to see them Serral it up anytime soon. But I realize detection is actually going to be a problem for Bly, and fungal growth will reveal units, and that might be the best function of them.
Well, DNS doesn't have Storm. He has used feedbacks, and he has plenty of them here.
Actually, that is so weird to see so many Templar without Storm. It's starting up now, but this is like a 20-minute Storm that's getting chronoed out. Feels like a mistake.
That it does. I agree. I think, considering that he had that bank to get the Tempests, I think that Storm could have been, you know, shifted in a little bit sooner, but it's okay. He's not taking any engagements without it, and he's going to have it by the time everything's important. So I'm still wondering kind of about the Ultras. Now that there are High Templars, it might not be so bad to get on top of them, crash into them, but I think Banelings do sometimes a more effective job, especially when they get a surround. But I don't know. It's actually down to that tricky, just like whose control is better, you know? Does the Protoss get fully surrounded? Do they miss a couple of feedbacks? Honestly, I'm thinking more about what the Protoss screws up more than what the Zerg can do. But
ducked into that Corruptor attack. Get those Queens in there too.
That's pretty good. Nice. Templars are on the wrong side of the field.
Oh, he's going to grab a Tempest or two on the way out as well. Unfortunately, though, Bly's going to lose a base, and he just transferred all of his drones down here. Not a couple of his drones, like all of his drones. This is bad.
Yeah. Already losing 22. I mean, he's been on 4 bases for so long in this game. He absolutely needed these new hatcheries to get full mining. Now, the army will die down here, but these were kind of dredges that DnS could afford. And those are your infestors while you're at it. Bly does have another base on the way. It's going to be his only saturated base with 27 drones.
Yeah, and even that's it's in the sights of DnS, you could say. Now, there wasn't storms for so much of this game, but they're finally here. If Bly actually has a fight to take, he's going to have to worry about storms for the first time in 2 hours.
Yeah, even without the storms, I think that DNS's army, well, it's maxed. Bly's isn't. Although, because it's such a low drone count, he has a decent army supply. Everything's looking quite good for DNS.
He could caustic spray. He's going to back away. Bly's got really one big hurrah in him. There's no replacing this army if it goes down. I think he's fully aware of that too. And
yeah.
Oh, it's not that he wants to give DNS the defensive advantage by taking a fight out here, but he kind of has to because he can't be defending at home. Viper goes in only to get a parasitic bomb off. That'll get a little bit of damage on the shields, which would be nice. Oh, that was Hydras and Corruptors and everything under that storm.
Yeah, that was basically everything. Now, I feel like DNS could potentially take a bad fight if he gets fungled on that ramp specifically, but he's still got so many storms holstered that Bly's going to have to make sure to get a concave anytime he thinks it's a good engagement. He is canceling a base, it looks like, but DNS has been killing more drones, like a single Zealot has been chasing, transferring drones.
Yeah, there's no Adrenal Glands. These Zerglings are kind of garbage, actually.
Yeah, despite having +3, and that does suck. Bly never got into a very comfortable economic standpoint after the contain.
That's
a really good combo, but maybe not enough.
He did take all the shields away from most of these units, and there's not much ground support left. I don't know what to make of this situation. It's so tight, but it's still looking better for DNS. His army supply is bigger. He's got more storms locked and loaded. The Broodlords are going to eventually get chipped away at, so time here favors DNS, and with the base down here getting picked up, I think we're going to get an ace match.
I think we are as well. On Catalyst, which is, I feel like, a really stressful map to have an ace match on. Well, it's bland, yes, but it's also stressful. It's one of the smaller maps we have.
Either way,
that's coming.
I'm excited for that, but I also feel so bad for Serral and Bunny. Well, not Serral. Serral's fine. This is like an okay time for Serral to play. Bunny's up so freaking late.
Yeah, that's true. Well, it's funny, like, I remember looking at the clock thinking, okay, this is going to end at a 4-0, it's only took an hour, and here we are now 2 hours into the match, almost.
Yeah, I mean, well, first off, kudos to DNS to bring this back to this point, right? Like, how many other players come back from the brink of defeat like that? And I count them on one hand, right? Like, it's not many, so the fact that he's able to pull this off is great. I don't know, man, I'm cheering for Bly. He's a friend of the channel, good guy. DNS already had taken Season 4, though. you had your win.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, my heart is with Bly here, but I don't know about ZVZ. I don't know about anyone going against Serral, first of all, including, like, Bunny, right? But that'll be for the future. Corruptor's gonna come in, they're gonna die. They're just gonna die, everything dies. They're sad, and that's gonna be game number 7.
Oh, that's a story of life, though, isn't it? Everything dies.
Everything dies.
I mean, at some point, the sun is gonna blow up. So does it really matter? Like...
Jesus.
All right, a bit cryptic towards the end there, but we are going to go to game number 7. So things now tied up 3-3. Kudos to DNS to bring this back. We're going to go take a quick commercial break, get things sorted. I don't want to keep these guys waiting too long, so we'll see you guys soon for the 7th and final game of this first series.
Welcome back. It is game number 7, the ace match that we didn't expect. In the bottom right, he came back from a 3-0 deficit. It is the Red Protoss DNS.
And in the top left, winning the first 3, then losing the next 3. This is Bly.
Yes, it is. Not looking so strong, and just like he was going to have the momentum on his side to the 4-0, because the 4th game started off so much in his favor. Ended up getting pushed back, and then pushed back, and then pushed back. And here we are in the ace match, where none of the previous victories matter. It's all about this game. To remind everyone that the match still has a couple of codes left, so remember type !matcherino in chat and use that code if you have not already. Getting the full amount of money to these guys, plus a little bit extra from some generous donators. Always awesome. These guys are playing for a lot of money, as the next step above this is really a big jump forward. Both these players just really want to get to those finals.
Yeah, Rifkin just dropping that in chat that literally hundreds of codes are left. So it's as simple as those instructions right there in the chat. And obviously the Matcherino command will get you even more instructions. You get the link and all that sort of business. And really, I mean, we have thousands of people watching us right now. All we need is a few hundred to get in there, and all those codes are gone, and everybody's happy and paid. Of course, we're not talking about us. We're talking about the players, which is the #1 prerogative here when you're running a tournament of this caliber.
Yeah. So, ace match on Catalyst. I mentioned last game that I find Catalyst to be kind of a stressful map, is the term I chose for it anyways. It's one of the smaller maps we have, very bare bones. You know, Rifkin said plain, boring, absolutely true, but interesting in the fact that it is one of the plain, small maps that we have amongst 7 maps.
Yeah, actually, I quite like Catalyst. For some reason, like, even though the map is quite standard, it's just always ends up having really fun, insane games for me. It's not like a super racially balanced map, like no race is extremely favored on it versus another. There's a lot of features and areas on it that are good for one race and versus the other. I like it, and I think it's just because of my personal bias. Like I said, I just have really fun games on it, or I tend to.
Yeah,
so.
I like this map as well. It's absolutely correct. It's not very interesting as far as like, oh, look, all the doodads, but I like that it's so direct in my opinion. Like, I actually know where to push on this map. Like, unlike some other maps where I'm like, well, if I push, I'm just gonna get surrounded, so that's cool. Yeah,
and there's that, like, sort of that choke in the middle where you can ambush and that sort of thing, which is nice, but like you said, yeah, not too many doodads. And also, the tile set's a little meh. But otherwise, I like it. Drone pick off there with that Adept. A couple lings once again for Bly getting into the middle line of DnS. Will they once again get a probe kill?
This has been an annoying...
Not this time, Gadget.
Yeah, it's been an annoying problem in the last 6 games. But not this time. Look at that. Amazing. So, you know, we're talking a lot about just like how, you know, the boring map, it's direct map, but in regards to a ZVP, like, what does this actually mean for all 6 of these games have gone? We had one Supreme Cheese, the proxy hatch, but really everything else has been... I guess there was another time where you used drops too, but that ended so abruptly I kind of forgot about, like, game number 2 or 3, whatever it was. But anyways, like, as far as the macro games have gone, there's been some opportunities for Bly to get these really large concaves. Hasn't really happened. DnS has been more and more careful with his armies as time has gone on. Why he got to game number 7. I think it's gonna be a little bit easier in game number in this map to not get surrounded. There's still potential to get blindsided if you don't have, you know, observers here and there. But the chokes, the pathways are much easier to get across, I think, for the Protoss. In fact, there's a really nice choke in the very middle of this map that's just like dead zone. Like, no one should go through there.
Yeah, I mean, that's not where the Zerg wants to be. Unless they have a bajillion lurkers, then maybe. But yeah, choke point's generally a thing that the Protoss wants to have against the Zerg player. And Zerg likes to have open ground. So yeah, that single Phoenix coming here from DnS to start to delay, or not to delay, but to deny those Overlords. Not going for Void Ray like he did in the last game in Ascension. Whoop. Oracle coming in, not getting too much done. Just getting beaten back by his queens.
Yeah. I'm glad I didn't go for the Void Ray.
Ah, Bly's timings. He's got like a Swiss watch in his brain.
on the probe, taking 3rd base.
Yeah. Like, it's 3rd time, here come the Lings, and they just go right on the dot. That's an Oracle pickoff right there. Very unfortunate for DnS. Yeah. No reason to lose that.
Yeah, but it seems to be a common trend that he loses one of his first target units, like a Phoenix, an Oracle, or the Void Ray like last game, which was really odd.
That's a lot of Adepts.
Yeah, it's not so much about the Stargate opener. The follow-up of Resident Enclave Adepts. Now, remember last time he tried doing this, he ran right into Banelings. He wasn't looking, there was lag, something. It was actually a disaster. He ended up winning the game anyways, but it wasn't the greatest start. Hopefully this time he'll be watching the shades to see when those Banelings come forward. And Bly should have Banelings ready once he sees them move out.
Yeah, speaking of the Banelings being ready, 9 of them on the way here for Bly, well and truly before that Adept push here from DnS, with Resident Enclave finishing up, and he is moving across the map taking the right-hand side here. Obviously, his sights are set on that third base. Maybe the plan to bounce between the natural and the third with the shade ability of the Adept. Making some sentries back at home, and I like this because, DNS is straight up lost to a lane counterattack because he didn't have sentries, because he didn't have Sim Cities available, and the Lings just kind of just straight up killed him. Now, he has to be careful about the shade here. The Banelings are trying to chase these shades into the natural. They're not in position.
Whoa.
And the Adepts, in fact, cancel their shade and start to split up here amongst the mineral line.
Okay, I thought he was just going to try and run off of creep, but maybe thinking that he wouldn't be able to run. Lings surround him. He gets killed anyway, so he tries to take as much down with him as possible.
A lot of Bly's army went down there as well as DNS's. He did get rid of that mineral line, not get rid of it, but, pulled it off the mineral line there, denied some mining time, killed a few drones. Bly can replenish, though, and he is doing that right now. But not before making a cluster of Lings, of course. This is Bly we're talking about.
I do think that was worth it. I mean, that was a lot of Adepts, but that was also a lot of Lings. 9 Banelings is a decent amount, too. It kept Bly off of his own drones for so long that if DNS can just survive this counter, which shield batters, a couple force fields, I think he can, he will be in a pretty good position. Bly's also not a
holding this counterattack. It's like moves and counter moves here. 4 Banelings coming in from Bly. Oh!
Wait,
one of the stuck on the outside, but not being warped in here. He should be able to tank these Baneling hits, and he does.
Okay, that one Baneling that was like, it was like near a unit but didn't explode. That was really weird. But anyway, the force fields, the Adepts on the right ended up working out enough that he saves most of his probes. 6 probes was not the damage Bly was looking for. Again, low on the drone count, no 4th base, only just getting up to a good 67. And DNS, he's already on his way to the production. He's already on his way to those upgrades, and Colossus will be out too. Like he's, I think, going to be okay for whatever comes next.
It looks like a pretty solid mid game here on the wins for DNS, with Bly just doing pretty much what he'd be doing most games here. Oh, looking at for that sentry ball, but DNS just started stepping a little bit here. Takes 1 hit on the sentry, that's more than enough to hold these Lings.
That was some nice control.
Yeah, very nice. 4th hatchery attempt here from Bly. It doesn't look like DNS has enough to deny it. He does have a Warp Prism with a couple units in it floating around, but has Hydras starting to pop out here, so the Warp Prism needs to be very, very careful. In fact, this Phoenix looks like it might go down these Hydras.
Yeah. That's unfortunate, because that's one of his freebie scouts, I suppose. Well, not really a freebie, but he's got no Oracle for Revelation. He doesn't have Observer across the field, and the Sentries, I think, have used a lot of their energy on force fields. Yeah, these Adepts getting a lot more drones than expected here. 9 drones dying before they get taken out. Puts Bly in actually a pretty not so great work count here versus the Protoss, who's heading towards a 4th Nexus and has a very healthy probe count. It can actually just chill on probe production for a while now, and going for that 4th hatchery, you can just kill that and recall, no problem. Yeah, he is taking out Bly's 4th while getting his own 4th. Couldn't ask for much better trades there for the Protoss there. Yeah, goodbye. Bly not able to do anything about it. He's going to take the middle 4th base. This is that tricky choke I was talking about, though, for both players, especially when they take the middle base. If they're ever caught retreating or going through that, especially the Zerg, will be force-footed off and killed pretty easily. Yeah, really nice moves from DNS in the early stages here. Of course, Bly's still in it, looking for a good engagement or a good position for these Lurkers, but DNS is all over him like a rash. He sees the positioning for these Lurkers. This damage before he gets taken out there. These Lurkers finding a nice position between the 4th Nexus and the 3rd. Bly, does he know about that 4th? He doesn't just yet. But this is very tough for DNS. A couple of Lings could easily cancel that. It's something that I think he really needs to do, but he is focused entirely on taking the army fight. I don't see an opportunity. If the 3rd Colossus comes out, their range is good enough to just slowly poke at the Lurkers. You can see it doesn't immediately kill them, but Bly also can't collapse in with them, especially if he doesn't have digging claws.
So the 4th Nexus is guaranteed damage, but unfortunately for Bly, he really has his sights set on this 3rd Nexus. He's gotten 1 gateway here. This one, just a bit of micro here from DNS, just microing back the Hertz Colossi and pulling them back. Bly trying to pick up this Colossi as well. Does get the Observer, but there's a second one DNS here at the 3rd base as well. So he can continue to push back these Lurkers slowly and slowly. But Bly is reinforcing 2 Lurkers at a time here. 3 Lurkers coming down here for Bly. Very deep, though. Yeah,
a little too much, I think. He's going to try and collapse in now, but no typical hooks. Force fields to come down, but not that many. Only had 2 sentries.
Yeah, that was a bit of an extension for Bly. I mean, DNS is losing some. but he does have the army supply advantage and defensive warpins. He's chrono boosting, or not chrono boosting, but producing 2 immortals at once from robotics facilities as well. There's just too much Protoss here that's anti-lurker, and Bly has to leave, but he's not getting too much damage done. He's also losing drones back at home.
Some of the lurkers are a little too slow. Drones being taken out, Hydra's taken out. Bly, not a very successful attack, especially because he never got that 4th base. The 4th base can now be like safely moved to move some probes over there for full saturation from the main base. More production since DNS got away with it. DNS is in a winning position, like a really nice, not easy, but almost easy winning position.
Yeah, sorry about the audio issues, guys. Once again, the connection between me and Rifkin coming in strong here. Happens. Unfortunately, I am on the other side of the world. We have a big push from DNS with a large army supply. Also, once again, very heavily upgraded versus Bly's army, which is paltry. And trying to head over for some counterattack damage, but there is really nothing there.
Bly is in an even worse position than we've seen in his other macro games. You know, the ones where he at least had a Spire and he was on a Theater Greater Spire. Like, those were something you could be like, well, Broodlords maybe. Maybe they can make a comeback. Not even this game. This is all about lair tech, and it's going to die to what DNS has been able to build up over the last 12 minutes.
Big counterattack from Bly once again, breaking off some of these Hydras. This is similar to what he does in breaking up some of these Hydras to go for a big counterattack. Getting that Prism's quite nice. Could deny +3 if he gets these pylons and depowers, or even just killing the Forge. There's a bunch of things that he could choose to do, and he is going to go for the Forge kill. That's quite nice. But he still has to stop this Protoss army, Zombie Grub.
Yeah, 2 lurkers. The army's going to have a difficult time protecting all of the bases as well. So the 3rd was protected, the 4th goes down. The choke working against Bly anytime he tries to defend this base, so that's gone. And while Bly is technically taking out a natural, it's not quite the same, as his army still isn't one to match DNS's.
Yeah, in fact, the Nexus may live. It does get down the DNS is too strong. Bly loses his entire army. The observers look like they got taken out here, so the detection of DNS is gone, but this damage is critical, to say the least.
Yeah. DNS has no problem. No problem going back and waiting for those observers, which he's building plenty.
No. See, the annoying thing is that... Nah, I mean, this is just styling.
Yeah.
He's just styling.
Oh, well.
Lurkers are on the way here for Bly. And DNS is, I mean, he's got him between a rock and a hard place. He's got him between a side blade and a laser beam. There's a lot of DTs here. They don't have blink yet, but it's on the way.
I wonder how effective blinking on top of lurkers would be.
Not very, because blinking on top of anything with DTs is bad.
What? No. Okay, so
Yes.
as much as I want to give Fear Dragon crap, if you have 20 DTs and there's like 50 Marines, no, not even, like 70 Marines even, like they'll do a lot of damage, man. They're like,
and they disappear.
They kill a lot. The only thing would be better if they were like 4s and CTs.
They kill a lot, but would you rather lose a handful of Marines or 15 Dark Templars?
It really depends, because if they kill my army and they get top on production, I'm screwed anyway as a Terran. So
that is true. I just always see the DT blink thing and people going, it's, you know, people. It's literally just Robbie. Just going, well, you know, it's Prism, it costs 200 minerals. It does the same thing. Anyway.
Whatever.
And people are like, hey, go rewatch Nightmare vs. Gumiho. Okay, it happened in one.
Well, yeah. That's certainly what they're going to be good against is tanks.
The blink! Oh my god, so clutch from DNS! This blink coming in clutch for him in this game and ending it without blink. No way would he have won this game.
I still want to blink on top of the lurkers, because there's one thing that lurkers have, or don't have rather, is like the ability to splash as somebody's actually on top of them. They kind of suck. But that's never going to happen. Oh well, GG.
GG. No GG from Black in there, which is so funny because that's what DNS point as well.
Oh,
reverse old kill. Well done.
DNS is in the finals.
Yeah, congratulations to DNS. But if you guys are Bly fans, don't worry. There's actually a bronze place match to be played tomorrow. So there's a best of 3 before tomorrow's best of 9 grand finals. But we're going to find out who the other player going to each of those respective matches are, as we'll be getting into Bunny versus Cyril here shortly. We're gonna go try and restart some stuff. Hopefully the audio will be better for after, guys. Love your faces. Sit tight, and I guess we'll be back here in a few minutes as we get the vetoes going with Cyril and Bunny. This is another match, by the way, that will be taking place on the North American server. So I guess sticking on Central, is that what we've been doing?
Yeah.
There you have it. All right, guys, we'll be back in a few minutes. I'll update the brackets too, and we'll see you guys soon. If you guys are, by the way, just now watching for the first time on the front page, because we got some front page love going on today, do us a favor, come join us in the chat, hit that follow button, all that goodness. But before any of the break comes down, I also want to, of course, show off the, where's this here? Display capture, risky click. Capture 2? No, it's not capture 2, it's capture 1. All right. Boom. Here we are on the Match Reno page, guys. Do me a favor. You type !Match Reno in chat. It's going to bring you to this page here. You sign in the top right. You use your Twitch, your Twitter, your Google Plus if you have it, because, I mean, honestly, who does? And when you come down here, hit contribute. If you type it, this is it. You don't have to enter any payment information. No PayPal, no credit card, no that thing. You just type in people, images, and this will add $1 to the prize pool. This is like, will actually add $1 real. This isn't some like fake website coupon. You've got $1 redeemable on our website. It actually adds $1 real to the prize pool. Players cash this out later. You can see the payouts, you see the prize distribution, you see everything on this page, guys. So do me a favor, please, please, pretty please. We've got literally hundreds of these codes. That's hundreds of dollars we can still give to these players. All you got to do is use the code. It'll take 2 seconds and it's totally free. That being said, we'll be back in a bit. Oh, go on.
I was gonna say, do you know what I saw in that match arena other than a ton of money? Damn, we look good, Zombie Grub.
Haha.
Those are some good pictures.
We all got good pictures.
Fuck
there.
you very much too. I look good. I look good.
I said we all have very good pictures.
I know you did. Maynard's being a dick. God.
I am. Yes.
No, I love you. All right, guys. We'll be back soon. Thanks for watching. We'll get this next series going ASAP.